Ever since I started building in The Sims 4 on this channel, people have been requesting Studio Ghibli inspired builds. And I can totally see why, because these movies are stunning. These are highly acclaimed Japanese animated feature films produced by Tokyo-based Studio Ghibli. Not only are the concepts of these movies usually super creative, but the gorgeous settings and landscapes in these films are what I think make them so unique. So I asked my audience which Studio Ghibli rooms or houses they want to see recreated in The Sims 4, and there were a ton of responses. So many that we may need to make this into a series. But in this video, we'll be recreating the main house from Kiki's delivery service, the house in forest from My Neighbor Totoro, and Arrietty's house from the secret world of Arrietty. Even if you haven't seen these movies, I feel like you're still gonna like this video because we're essentially gonna be recreating the most beautiful, whimsical cottages ever, and I feel like it's gonna make for a beautiful build. But before we get started, we have a quick word from our sponsor. If you follow my channel, you know I've been on a hunt for cozy games lately, so I was so excited when Animula Nook reached out to sponsor this video. This adorable Lilliput fantasy life simulation game allows you to experience another world from a small perspective. Of course, it includes customizable gameplay so you can build your own homes, change outfits from a variety of options, interact and make friends with unique NPCs. It's a super cozy, stress-free vibe where you can get creative with your world. Like, you can use your shrink gun to shrink desk clutter into building materials, or you could build a house using chocolate bars. There are farming mechanics which are really cool from a tiny perspective. Like, you can plant these tiny seeds and watch them bloom into massive flowers. Plus, there are a bunch of different nature-themed collectibles for you to discover. It's a unique game where you can observe life through a tiny perspective, and who knows, maybe you'll discover something new through a tiny lens. This game is currently in alpha testing, but it's already showing massive potential, so you can check out Animula Nook now using the link in my description below, and make sure to wishlist the game on Steam. Thanks again to Animula Nook for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. Since these are going to be very detailed builds, and we're building full-sized houses, we're going to be covering the exterior only in this video, and then in the next video, that's when we'll cover the furnishing of the interior. So we are going to be building in Henford-on-Bagley today. I wanted to start off this build with houses that would fit into the countryside, and Kiki's house from Kiki's delivery service is the perfect one to start us off. This whimsical, beautiful cottage is covered in plants all over the house, and at the front, there's this adorable greenhouse where her mother brews teas and potions. We also see her bedroom in this house where she lives with her talking cat Gigi before she sets off on her journey, and I wanted to start off with this cottage specifically because I feel like if you haven't seen any Studio Ghibli movies, this is a really good place to start. I don't know, maybe I'm biased because this is the first one that I saw, and feel free to sound off in the comments if you have a different suggestion, but this was my introduction to the Studio Ghibli universe, and the thing about this movie is there are so many beautiful locations to choose from. Like, so many. The whole movie is so beautiful. I might even have to build an entire town inspired by it, who knows? But leading up to this cottage are these beautiful fields of flowers. There's a ton of colorful flowers, and there's this long pathway leading up to the house. So that's currently what I'm trying to do. And this landscaping piece here is just from base game debug. Cottage living also has some nice debug flowers we can add, and they remind me of some of the ones that are in the field here. I also want to be colorful but not too bold here, so I even lowered the saturation on my game a tiny bit for this video. Cottage living debug also has these like wispy grass pieces, which I think are gonna look really nice. So I'm gonna add these scattered around everywhere just for a little added texture. We'll bring this pathway up, and I'm gonna line all of this with flowers as well. Okay, so far this is our flower field leading up to the house. We'll add more once we have our actual shell, but I'm gonna go ahead and make the cottage next. So I'll bring it out like this. We also need to have a little front door part, and then this section here is where the greenhouse will be. I think we can bring these pieces in a tiny bit. And then there is a second floor, so I'm gonna go and just add this right here. Okay, so this is our shell, and the roofing on this house, I think is gonna end up being a little more difficult than it looks. I want this second floor to be functional. I don't want any roofing peeking through. That's probably where her bedroom is gonna be. And ideally, the roofing does kind of just look like one big gabled roof piece. Like, in a perfect world, we could just do this and call it a day. But if we do that, we can't even see into that second floor. Like, I just can't get in there at all. So instead, what we have to do do is delete that, and we're gonna use half gabled roof pieces instead. I'm gonna add this onto the edge of one side. I'll bring it in so it's only hanging out on that one tile, and then I'll bring it all the way across like this. I'm gonna bring in one side of the adjusters by holding shift on my keyboard and pressing on this arrow, and then holding alt I can just bring this up and meet the top of the wall. That edge might look a little crazy hanging over, so if I have to, I can bring that in too, but we'll have something like this. Then all we have to do is copy it, we'll rotate it and put that on the other side, and now we can go in with the gabled roof piece, and we're just gonna put that right on top of this room. We'll bring it over and cover the top of the house. I'll bring in both adjusters this time, and now we just have to adjust the height, and there's a little bit of a curve to this roof as well, so I'm gonna try and work on that and see what I can come up with. All right, so this is what I've got for this part of the roof. We're not done here yet, we still have to roof the other side, and it has a bit of a funky shape, so I'm gonna take a gabled roof first and we'll pull that across, but I'm actually going to bring that in a little bit, and then I'll just raise up the pitch. Then I'm gonna go in with a half gabled roof piece and I'll lower it down. I'm using Shift C on my keyboard to open up more curving options, and then I'll just pull that across. There's a little bit of actual like shingles peeking through the plants, so I'm gonna use this from Werewolves, and I'll use that same roofing for this part over top of the door. For wallpaper for the front, I'm using this brick from Cottage Living, but I'm gonna change up the swatch on this left side. I do think there's also a little shed peeking out to the side, so I think I'll build that over here as well. The thing with houses in Studio Ghibli is none of them are perfect. They all have like this cluttered yet organized look to them, and I feel like that's part of what makes them look so charming. Over the years, a lot of people have compared some of my builds in The Sims 4 to Studio Ghibli like houses, which is like the biggest compliment ever, probably because of all of the clutter. For the door, there is an archway leading to it, so I'm using this archway first from the Riviera Retreat Kit. Actually, you know what? I think it's like a tiny room in there, so I've done this instead. I've gone in with half walls, and that way we can actually utilize this room. Like I can add this here from Cottage Living. On this wall, we could use this shelf also from Cottage Living with like the little watering can on top, and these half walls actually act as shelves, so I could go in and add little potted plants on here. We could also store little pots outside in this nook, and now instead of just having a regular old archway, we've got a charming little plant area. Okay, now we need windows, and for windows I'm thinking about using this one from Cottage Living. This definitely reminds me of the one here at the front. There's also a window that opens up top here. Keep in mind a lot of this is going to be covered by plants, but then for the actual greenhouse side, I was thinking about using these windows from Snowy Escape. I'm going to put them all along like this, and I want lots of light coming in here, so I'm going to bring these all along the back. Oh, this is going to be so cute. Before adding a million plants onto this thing, I'm going to go in and add some chimneys. Oh, and wait, we also have to add these roof windows from Cottage Living. Okay, so as it is, I feel like this house is already so cute, but part of what makes it so iconic is the plants that are all over it, so we have to include those. I'm gonna see what I can do with these roof plants. I don't really like using them that much. I find them kind of annoying because like they can only go on the roof when it's shaped a certain way, and I tend to play around with my roof shapes quite a bit, but I'm gonna cover what I can. We can also use this and add a little more texture on it, but this roof is like covered, so I'm gonna be adding these for a hot minute, I think. They are really on every part of this roofing, with just like a little bit of the shingles peeking through. And what I'm also doing, if I can't get them automatically onto the roof, is just with move objects on, I'm raising them up and just trying my best to get them to sit on there. Then for plants going up the side of the house, I'm using these from Get Together. Get Together also has this plant option we can add, and there are also these vines we can use from Cottage Living. All right, so this is how our cottage turned out for Kiki's delivery service. I love this. I can't stop looking at it. There are so many plants on this thing though. I pretty much added as many as I felt like I needed to on the roof. That was definitely the most frustrating part of the entire thing, because like you're kind of fighting with it at the same time. I also replaced the window up top here and added this instead from Horse Ranch, because the window is actually open and you can see inside, you can see the curtains there. So that's what I did, and the entire house is surrounded by birch trees, so I added those in. There's a bunch of them in the back as well, because we're gonna end up having an entire forest back there. I'm gonna wait to do the interior. We're gonna do that after we're finished the whole outside. So over beside it, we're going to have to build the house from My Neighbor Totoro. This is the house that the kids move in with their father right at the start of the movie. I found this one particularly interesting because there's an actual real house in Japan that looks just like this one. The original film came out in 1988, but the real life house was constructed decades later as an attraction in 2005 in Japan. So I think this one is going to be sort of right here at the front. And I find the architecture on this house so interesting because it has two separate elements to it. There's this front part, which almost has more of like a Western look to it. But then the back and like the main part of the building is this traditional Japanese style house. So I'm gonna first try and do the front part. So again, it's kind of got a similar roof situation going on to like the last one we did, where we're gonna have to add this onto both sides. But then the top part is actually looking like a hipped roof piece. So I'm gonna bring that over. I'm definitely gonna have to play around here to get the shaping of this right. That top part has to be hanging over because there's actually these little structures that are like holding it up underneath. And then we need to pull out these adjusters so they actually meet that top part. The roofing on this is red, so I kind of want to use this one from Life and Death. But on the real life recreation, they use this style of roofing and this is almost identical. We need some white paneling. We'll add on some roof trim. And for the front doors, I'm actually gonna use these ones from Moschino. I think I'll use these up top from Snowy Escape. And we also have to raise this up a tiny bit because they do have a bit of a deck. And then on the deck leading up to the house, there's like a pergola and it looks like this one. It's definitely a little more run down than this one. At the start of the movie, the kids actually try and knock it down. Like at first the kids are joking that they think the house is like haunted. And then there are actually also little points on the roof. So far that's essentially the front part. Now we need to work on the back. So I think I might actually take this out a tiny bit more. And for this roofing, we're going to use a hipped roof. I'll bring that back and I'm going to bring this up a little bit. The weird thing about this house is that these two roof pieces don't actually connect. They're like entirely separate, but I'm going to click the roofing and press Shift C again so I can flare out this part of the roofing a tiny bit. And I'm going to use a similar red trim. I think there's a little platform here at the side and the back of the house is up more so on this stilt foundation. For the wallpaper at the back here, I'm going to use this from Snowy Escape and the rest of it is going to be this alternate wallpaper also from Snowy Escape. Okay, this one is also turning out stunning so far. I do need to build a back deck here because this is actually a shed. And I think this is where they first discover like the sprites that are in the house. In this movie, the kids are slowly discovering the creatures that live around them, like in the forest and in their home. So we're gonna have to incorporate that on the interior somehow. Right here, there's a circular window. I'm drawing around some pathways. And for added decoration, I'm using these pathways here from Get Together. Okay, in terms of the basics without all the landscaping, I feel like we've got the shape and I'm so happy with this. Like the color scheme here, I'm really trying to keep it colorful yet soft like the movies and I feel like we're pulling that off. Okay, now for the landscaping, there's a tree here at the front, kind of like a little palm tree. I'm gonna use these. These are from Strangerville. I thought about using these base game ones, but again, they're kind of too harsh. There are some little flowers surrounding this house, but they're not as colorful and there's not as many of them. So I'm just gonna use these like grass pieces from Cottage Living. And around their house somewhere, they do have a little pond. I don't think it's actually this close to the house, but I'm gonna put it here just so I don't take away from the other house we have to build. I've added some rocks around and this is definitely not something that I have to do, but I really want to add in this fountain. These are from the Riviera Retreat Pack and I feel like they look so pretty on the edge of a pond. I am gonna have to adjust my rocks though. That's looking good for our pond, but then I'm going to add in the tadpoles. There's a part where the kids are looking into the pond and they just see a ton of tadpoles in there. So I've added these lily pads and I'm just gonna hide them underneath that. I don't know if they'll even see them. Maybe I have to change the water back, but I kind of don't mind this one from Jungle Adventure. Maybe I'll keep it a little brighter so we can actually see the tadpoles. Other things around here, I do want to add a well. There's a well, again, I don't think it's as close to the house, but it's somewhere around and the kids are always running to it to get water. I'm gonna add that over here. I'm gonna raise this up and I'm just making this well spot. I know there is one somewhere, but I have no idea where it is. I'm looking through Cottage Debug right now. As I go, I'm gonna find little buckets that I can add. It's not like this, it's like an old pump one. It looks like this, except there's actually water in it. It looks like this is an old one that's been filled up, but this is just gonna have to work. On this front bit, I'm adding some garden pots. I'm also adding a bike around here somewhere for when all three of them are riding around on the bike. And okay, I feel like that's pretty good for the front of the house. Now we have to go in and do the forest part in the back. So I'm gonna just fill this back part up here with big trees. For the forest, I'm using all Cottage Living debug trees, but I kind of want to include one of the functional tree houses. Like this from Growing Together is functional. Kids can go on there and make their own tree house. And it's really cute because they can actually play out like imaginary stories in the back there. They can get family members to help. I think that would be fitting for this movie. So definitely gonna include a tree house right here, surrounded by the rest of the forest. Around here somewhere from Cottage Living, I also want to add a couple planters. This is for where the kids plant the seeds in their are coming back every day to check and see if they grew. Oh, and another thing we need is acorns. Enchanted by Nature has these acorn lights, so I think I'm gonna just like hide these around. All right, so there we go. We've got the house from my neighbor Totoro. I like this so much more than I expected. I thought this was gonna turn out looking so weird, but I feel like we kind of nailed it. It looks pretty accurate. This is what I did over to the side of the house. So we've got the forest area. I added some laundry back here. We've got the tree house. I have all the little acorns hiding here. But in the back of the forest, behind one of the trees, there is a ladder. In the actual movie, one of the kids falls into a hole and that's where they find Totoro. We can't do that, so we have a ladder and that's gonna lead down into our basement, and this can be Totoro's little cave. I'm gonna actually build a door around the ladder just because then we're able to manipulate the lighting better. And I guess it's not really a cave, it's kind of more like a den. The ground is all mossy, so I'm gonna try and use these from Snowy Escape. There's also a bunch of plants down here, so I'm gonna have to shrink a couple of these. I'm looking through for a Totoro. Obviously, we don't have one in game, but like, is this gonna have to be it? I don't think I can do it. It would make sense though, because kids can like come down and actually talk to the stuffed animals. So I guess I'll do it. And then I need this. I guess that can be the bed. There's like a big hole in the wall where Totoro sleeps. This window from Realm of Magic is just gonna have to work out for that. And then in the actual game, this is just gonna be a little hideaway for kid Sims to come and play. So I'm also gonna add a toy box, and we can add the Enchanted by Nature bookshelves. Wait, look at this guy. That could be cute too. Like, that guy is way cuter than this. Okay, I'm gonna move this over here, and then we'll move the little toy on the other side so kids can still come down and play with it, but I feel like this just looks way cuter. Okay, so that's what we'll do for the den. Totoro's den, aka just a little spot for kids to come down and play. I also came back later and wanted to add more creatures outside. I wanted to add something to represent the cat bus, the suit sprites, and the smaller Totoros. So I added a debug bus stop from Cottage Living, and then for the smaller Totoros, I added this plushie from the storybook kit, and beside it, I added this cute little nightlight. For the suit sprites, I found these creepy little things from Nifty Knitting, so I went in and added a few of them, but what had me stumped is the cat bus. I had no idea what to do for this. At first, I found this toy bus, and then I added a pumpkin face with a cat on it right in front. Clearly, not my best of ideas. Then I decided to use this blanket for it as the bus instead. I found this activity table is shaped like a bus. I did stick with the pumpkin idea, and then I added these seats from Journey to Batu. They kind of look like bus seats, and there we go. That's gonna be our makeshift cat bus. Okay, so that's it for these two. Now we need to move on and build a home for the secret world of Arrietty. This movie is about a tiny teenager that lives with her parents in the recesses of a suburban home. They come out of hiding to borrow household items like sugar cubes and tea leaves, but they have to remain hidden from humans for their safety. Arrietty's room in particular was one of the most highly requested build ideas, and I can see why, because it's covered in plants and the entire house is made up of little collectible items they've borrowed from the big world. So for the exterior, I had a hard time deciding what to do for this movie. Technically, they live beneath someone else's house, so I thought about just adding them into the basement levels of the Totoro house or something like that. But Arrietty's home is so beautiful. I think if we build it in The Sims, it needs proper windows and lighting, and sticking it in the basement levels just feels kind of sad. But in the movie, they do show the house that they live beneath, and it is really beautiful. So I think for the outside, I'm just gonna build this house. And then of course, when we go to furnish it, we can furnish it as if we were actually furnishing Arrietty's house. I did find it hard to find full shots of this house though, so I'm going off of this picture here, and I know there's going to be an octagonal shape at the front. I know the front part comes out like this, and there are also 2 floors on this house. I'll bring this part up as well. So this is going to be our shell. The wallpaper is like a pale yellow, so I'm using this one from the Courtyard Oasis kit. These windows are also going to be a little tricky to match, so I'm using these ones also from the Oasis Courtyard kit. We can use the matching doors, which I'm surrounding with these windows from Cottage Living. There's a roofing piece that comes over and covers the front door, so I'm going to pull that across like this. And again, we're just going to flare that out a little bit. We'll add some roof paint, adding roof trim. I'm using different windows on this side from Growing Together weather. And up top, I'm adding these windows from Snowy Escape. For the roofing, I know that this is going to be an octagonal roof shape. I'm assuming this up here will be a gabled roof piece. Under the roofing, I added these details from Cottage Living. On the front porch, we can add a plant stand, a hanging plant from the Blooming Rooms kit, and on the outside there is a vent. This is where Arrietty and her family enter the house, so we'll include that. And similar to Kiki's house, this home is also covered in plants. Not as many, but unfortunately the roofing plants are going to be making a comeback. I'm adding vines winding around some of the walls, and in the back I'm adding a picnic table. I want to cover the table with borrowed items like little tea tins. There's a lot of sewing stuff in the movie, so maybe we can add this item here along with the knitting basket and also the cross-stitching box from Cottage Living. I'm excited for the interior of this one because I do somehow still want everything in there to look oversized. So this is how the outside of Arrietty's house turned out. It turned out so good. The landscaping on the outside again is Cottage Living debug. On the balcony, I added a bed for the cat, and I'm super happy with how this build turned out as a whole. Make sure to leave any suggestions you have for the interiors of these houses in the comment section below, and the second part where we furnish these houses will be up this week. Also, let me know any other Studio Ghibli builds you want to see. I have quite a few ideas already, but I would love to know what your favorite builds from the movies are. If you guys like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.